Welcome to PNRShow, Season 5, Episode 2, Double Your Fun.
I'd rather have lager than life. I'll take a strong stout over strife. I'd prefer to confer with a half pint of ale than live a long life till my private parts fail. For life without liquor is to no avail, so bring me lager for life. I'd rather have lager than life.
Good evening and good morning. I see it like the order that I chose there.
That was quality.
Yeah. And all of those things to those of you out in podcast land that have joined us at the Happy Time Magic Hour, now rechristened the Pint of No Return Show. Either one. You go searching for either one, eventually it'll direct you to the right location.
Wow.
So, well, listen.
Two of us again, it goes back 5 years.
I know. I say that because tonight we're going back to the original. We're just bringing back the original members of the band. It's just me and Keith, Happy Time Magic Hour style. And right. We are without Gary this evening, although he may join us at some point.
This is the acoustic cut.
That's right. This is the unplugged. The unplugged version, yeah.
That's right. No messy keyboards, electric guitars. Just au naturel.
If you are unfamiliar with the Pint of No Return Show, and judging by our listener numbers, you aren't. We are a podcast that.
How are you doing here?
Yeah, you've stumbled accidentally upon. Yeah, this is not the Nerdist podcast. Sorry. You have stumbled upon a beer podcast. Keith and I and a couple other guys get together once a week or once every 2 weeks or once when we can ever really clear up our schedules. And we drink a beer together, talk about the beer, maybe shoot the bull a little bit, talk about some things that we're interested in that we think you should check out this week. And it's all under the guise of a show. Little Rascal style. Hey, let's put on a show.
I like it.
I like the Little Rascals. Culturally insensitive by today's standards, but I like the Little Rascals.
Only bits and pieces. For the most part, it holds up.
Yeah. Only how they treated girls and women and minorities. Or,
people with hair sticking out of their top of their head.
Exactly. But they knew how to put on a show.
That's right.
They could slap a show together with spit and polish, I'll tell you. All right, so joining me, I'm Rob, and joining me with, as always, is my good buddy Keith. Keith, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Good night, everyone.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm recently back from a trip to Orlando.
Oh, that's right. How did that go?
It was lovely. I saw the inside of a conference room all day, and when I got out at night, it was cold. So it was roughly like being here.
You just missed my wife in Orlando by about a week.
Oh, really?
She's there now.
Ah. Well, she's getting the better weather from the sounds of it. She was getting 70s and mostly. That wasn't your
first time to Orlando, was it?
Oh God, no. In fact, I've most recently been to Orlando for work a few years ago, so it's a fairly regular thing.
Headquarters or what?
No, that was a common destination for the sales groups to have their national meetings and
stuff to do there.
I support their technology.
Excellent.
So they have a chance to come in and get all their problems fixed that they're too afraid to call in with.
Keith is a good supporter. He's not an athlete, but he is an athletic supporter.
It's true. It's true. I lift and separate. That's my motto.
Yeah, exactly. Lift and separate. Clean and jerk, as they say in the weightlifting world.
Oh dear.
So tonight, we had talked about a couple of shows back, I think now, about doing a double show.
It was actually just last week.
Well, no. We had talked about it in episode 1. We rediscussed it on episode 2, and now here we are, this is episode 3. No, it's episode 3.
This is episode 2.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Woo. We haven't done anything since
I'm
episode
taking
1.
Keith's position of never knowing what episode it is. Sorry. Episode 2. So anyway, we talked about last episode about doing doubles. Belgian style Abbey ales. And at that time, Gary was in, but circumstances arise and he couldn't make the show. So Keith and I decided to pick up doubles ourselves and as it's just Keith and myself tonight. So double trouble. We don't have the same beer, but we do have the same style of beer. So Keith, what did you select for your double?
Well, I really had only one option. That is not to say that there wasn't more than one choice, but when it comes to a Belgian beer from upstate New York, there's really only one choice, and that's one of my favorite breweries from just a few hours down the road, and that's the brewery Omegon in Cooperstown, New York, home of the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Which the Hall of Fame's votes were just announced today. Wow,
they
Keith,
were
topical.
The brewery Omegon is a Belgian brewery here in America. They did such a good job that Dubbel, a Belgian brewery in Belgium, decided that they wanted them and they bought them. So now they're owned by Dubbel, but they're still brewing amazing craft style, mostly Belgian beers just a few hours down the road for me, and they are a fantastic brewery. And I have not had this double in many years.
Yeah, we did it on the old show.
We did it on the old show. They're straight up their Belgian Abbey double. So it doesn't get more double-y than this.
A tall bottle, which I saw in the liquor store when I went to go purchase my double. It's an expensive bottle of beer.
Is it? What did it run you down there?
It was $14.99. Yeah.
There's a lot of traffic on your beer because when I'm just 2 hours down the road from it, it was under $8.
Wow.
So get it in Western New York, folks. It's
drove it all around the country, apparently.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to import this stuff, and I think it's possible Omegon doesn't have direct distribution in Specs, so they might have bought it from someone else who had it.
Okay,
hard to say.
So
in Specs, in Specs may have bought it from someone else, so it doesn't have direct distribution in Texas, where Rob is.
Right. So what I got, there were a bunch of doubles, or as I mentioned before, Belgian style Abbey ales to choose from at my liquor store of choice. But when I saw this one, I'm like, I get it. The other three guys, Jeremy, Keith, and Gary, all love Sierra Nevada. And we've had a bunch of Sierra Nevada beers on the show before. So when I saw that they had a double, I'm like, that's the beer I got to get. So I got Avila or Ovila, which sounds more Latin than perhaps Belgian or German. It's labeled as a white ale with bits of coriander and orange peel, which you will know from past beers we've done, like Blue Moon and ones of that nature. It's in collaboration with the Abbey of New Clairvaux.
Oh, it's a collaboration piece. Okay.
So the monks at the Abbey of New Clairvaux hold themselves to a higher standard. They wanted to create a beer that blends old world tradition with modern day mastery. So there you go.
It was normally a white with coriander and such, and it would be a wheat, like a German style wheat ale.
Yeah.
So the fact that it's a collaboration with an Abbey ale, they're probably blending the two or kind of adding the wheat flavors to the Abbey ale. So not a traditional Abbey ale, but still very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And not what I've seen.
Yeah, and mine's only 5.3%. Keith's is 8.2. So hopefully, if he drinks the whole bottle of this show, it could be quite interesting by the end.
Well, and that's the other thing we should talk about too. Is double normally refers to the amount of alcohol in a Belgian beer. In what would be called a single, they don't actually call single. It's normally called a farmhouse ale or a saison. Double is your traditional Abbey ale, and it's traditionally made by Belgian monks. They also have a triple, and that goes, obviously we're increasing the alcohol each time. So around 5% would be your single, around 8% is your double. Normally a triple's around 10, and then there's even a quad, which will go
quadruple,
which will go to 12%.
Man, oh man.
That's some good stuff right there, especially on an 18-degree night in Western New York.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want yourself a quad and some alone time.
Perhaps in the middle of our season, when we have our sweeps week, we should do a quad. See how that goes over.
One of my favorite beers, big winter beers, Wirebacker down in Pennsylvania makes a Belgian quad that tastes of banana and clove, and it is so good.
Oh, you had me at banana, you lost me at clove.
It's so good.
Oof. All right, so let's break open these bad boys.
All right.
I'm doing this old style.
I have decorked.
I have decapped.
So good.
It smells very clean. Just a hint of malt.
If you can see mine, you'll see it's kind of a medium color, which would be traditional, kind of a red almost.
Mine is about as white, clear as you get.
Yeah, I think, like I said, yours is going to be non-traditional. I think yours is going to be more on the wheat side, which you will enjoy.
I will enjoy. It's like straw colored.
Yeah, and it's fairly see-through. Now, mine, unfortunately, just poured the biggest head on a beer glass.
So why don't I drink first?
No, I'm not. This isn't going to dissuade me.
You're going to power through?
I'm going in, man. Give me my diving goggles. I'm going down.
So season 5, episode 2, Dubbel, we say Prost.
Prost, my friend. Pah! Yeah, there's a little head on that.
So, this is really quite tasty. The comes in a bit late on it, and when you first take a pull, it almost has a taste of banana. Banana, kind of rich, that richness that you get with as it moves through. Then you start getting the coriander and then some of the orange peel. So I don't know if it's the fact that the blend of them together, because if you do a Blue Moon, which we've done on the show before, that has coriander in it, it doesn't have the orange peel. You usually dress it with the orange peel on top, or the bartender will. Kind of blend it in, and it makes it so it's very, very subtle. But coriander, which, by the way, trivia experts out there will know that coriander is the seed for cilantro. It blends so nicely together, and it doesn't. Citrus of the orange really doesn't overpower it at all. So it just kind of blends really nice, and then it's got that adding to, or was guessed, very nice wheat texture to it all the way through. So it's really, it's very smooth, very light, very refreshing kind of a beer, and it just really nice and rounded. So I'm digging this quite a bit. How is yours?
This is as traditional as you get. I mean, the only way to be more traditional with this is to be in an abbey and have this pulled off of the giant oak cask.
Wearing the robes.
Wearing the robes, yes. Not allowed to speak, but just to look longingly at the beer casks until someone pours you a pint.
Hitting yourself with planks. So what do you got? What do you got flavor-wise?
Well, it is. Again, it has a very big banana note, which is common to Belgian beers because they use more of a wild yeast, and you get a lot of tropical and kind of banana-y flavors from that. So that has this. It has more of a richness to it, in that malty, dark color that comes with it. Almost kind of along the lines of some burnt sugar, kind of caramely stuff going on. Finishes pretty strong and smooth. I'm going to have to give you more on the texture later. I'm still fighting my way through the head. So
Velvety. That's what I would say. The head is velvety.
It's very airy at the
Yeah.
front end, but yeah, it's a great beer. I mean, this is what I imagine dwarves would drink in their mountain halls when they're having a festival. Is they would have something along the lines of this in their mugs. It's a big, rich, kind of almost mealy beer. That's obviously one that's not, made and drank fresh. It's something that is built and on layers and layers of casks and stored and aged, and somebody's drawing off a little bit to see if it's ready. And
yeah,
it's a labor of love is what it is. And I think they do it right at Omegon. So
nice.
It's a good one. It's not my favorite beer from Omegon, though. So they have so many other ones that I enjoy a lot as well.
I know you like the Three Philosophers.
Oh, that's so good. I had a hard time not buying that because I saw it today. It was right next to this one. But even their farmhouse, I find a little more quaffable than this. But this is a great beer. There's nothing wrong with this. And like I said, it's like 18 degrees out now here in Western New York. So this tastes fine. It's just fine.
Some hardiness to it.
Yeah, this is a good winter beer.
That's good. So we'll keep talking about the beer as we go. I had a couple of things I wanted to mention to you. We talked about The Last Jedi last week. You haven't had a chance to see it yet, I take it.
No, not yet. It's
get to it before it gets out of the theaters.
Yeah, we're hoping to get to it before it gets out of the theaters, but one way or another, it will be seen.
So, have you heard that you've been visiting or out in the ether, them talking about how disappointing The Last Jedi is, and that it's underperforming? Have you heard any of that?
I have heard the 50-50 split that's been going on all along. That a lot of half of the people are really disappointed with The Last Jedi, and half of the people think it's the greatest thing, and it's taking Star Wars in a new direction. So I've heard both sides of that, but I've heard that since day one.
Yeah. So
I haven't heard anything like box office numbers wise. Is it disappointing there? Or?
Well, I'm glad you brought it around to box office numbers, because there have been quite a few people on the internets that have been saying that, The Last Jedi is underperforming. It's doing so much worse than The Force Awakens, and maybe Disney has lost their touch with Star Wars, and what's happened to the franchise. And well, you should know, starting off with that, it came through with about 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is an aggregation of most of the well-known reviewers out there. Mm-hmm. But that user scores, or that is people who are members of the website, average Joes like you and me, who go to see the movies and rate it afterwards, had it quite a bit lower, like in the 60s.
Okay.
That's, and I will, for most people, I think Rotten Tomatoes is the go-to for at least an aggregate score. I know for myself, usually when a movie's coming out, the first thing I will do is to check Rotten Tomatoes. Not that makes the decision for me, but I kind of get a sense of overall where the movie is by kind of a rounding of all the reviewers, right?
Right.
So that's where we started with this kind of what's wrong with The Last Jedi? How horrible it is. Well, I wanted to give a couple of numbers, and I had to go no farther than Box Office Mojo to look. And yes, the answer is yes. If you're a Snopes and you want to check to see if the rumor is true, for worldwide sales, worldwide sales, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, in fact, has not done as well as Star Wars. Star Wars: The Force Awakens has taken in wide $2.068 billion. It is the number 3 grossing movie of all time, behind Avatar and Titanic. Star Wars: The Last Jedi, poor little Last Jedi, barely can rub 2 nickels together, has made a very, very disappointing $1.297 billion, which makes it way, way, way down in the list at number 9. All time films.
Almost not in the top 10.
It's crazy. I mean,
yeah, clearly
Disney
lost.
heads must roll at Disney.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous. So of course, that it's just silly, stupid nonsense. That for them to say that it's underperforming when Forbes had an article about this that said most sequels to films do about 30 to 32% worse than their originals if they were blockbuster hits, and that's right around where The Last Jedi is. Now if you're looking at it domestically in the United States, The Force Awakens made $1.1 billion and The Last Jedi has made $692 million. So yeah, it's less. A lot of polarizing opinions about it. Yes, Keith is right. A lot of people love it, think it's the greatest thing ever. A lot of people are panning it, saying, "What has Disney done?" I think Disney's sleeping okay at night, honestly. I think they'll take $1.29 billion, and it's still in the theaters, by the way. So it probably could make another couple $100 million, maybe, before everything is said and done. When you consider the fact that they bought Lucasfilm for $4 billion, $1.3 billion is about a third of that. I think they're doing okay. It performed better, by the way, if you're comparing it to other Star Wars films, it performed better than Rogue One, which made $1 billion. It performed better than Star Wars The Phantom Menace, which was the first Star Wars film in 16 years after The Last Jedi, which made $1.7 billion. So it's almost 300 million more than Phantom Menace, which if you think back to the Phantom Menace was a huge, phenomenon hit.
Yeah, I wonder if we adjusted that for inflation, what that number would be.
I can adjust that for inflation for you, Keith. Yes,
You're
I can.
The best, Rob. It's almost like I know what you're capable of.
The adjusted gross for Star Wars Force Awakens domestically made $992 million. Star Wars The Last Jedi, $605 million, which again is about 30 to 32% less. Star Wars The Phantom Menace, you know what? It did do better than The Last Jedi when adjusted for inflation, made $829 million.
Okay.
But that having been said, yeah, Star Wars The Last Jedi is number 46 on the list of all-time domestics. So I guess by that standard, if you're going only by U.S. sales, which no self-respecting company would do nowadays, because it's not all about the U.S. anymore. Yes, it did perform not as well as that, but I think still, all being said, it'll make it. And by the way, the Star Wars The Force Awakens had Harrison Ford in it, which Harrison Ford is to say which actor has made the most money in films in history. It's Harrison Ford. He was Harrison Ford-less. I don't know. I think it's kind of a red herring to say. And by the way, it also went up against Jumanji, which is also closing in on $1 billion. So I just had to go on a little rant there. And
do you feel better?
I do. And now that we've mentioned Star Wars in our show, like I've said, our numbers are going to go through the roof.
Yep. I'll have to make sure we tag Star Wars in here.
So Keith, you're familiar with Grumpy Cat, right?
I am.
You know, little old Grumpy Cat, the meme that took the world by storm. Did you know that that Grumpy Cat was just in court and won his court case?
Yeah. Yep.
What happened, Keith? Tell us about the Grumpy Cat lawsuit, would you?
I don't know the details of the lawsuit other than to say I saw the headline go by that Grumpy Cat won, and I went, "Oh, good!
Thank God
for my life."
Yeah. So
nobody deserves it more than
California.
Grumpy Cat.
Yeah. There is a beverage company in California known as Grenade, and they make a roasted coffee line, an iced coffee.
Okay.
And in 2015, they decided to use Grumpy Cat's face on its line of Grumpy Cat Grumppuccino. Yeah.
Grumpy Cat did not approve.
Well, they had the rights to put it on its beverages, the actual cans or bottles or whatever it was that they used. But they put it on T-shirts and on their roasted coffee line. See, this was the iced coffee, the Grumpy Cat Grumppuccino, but they also use it on their roasted coffee line and on their T-shirts, which weren't part of the deal. So they sued, claiming it violated intellectual property.
Don't take advantage of Grumpy Cat's generosity. This is one. If
right.
There's one thing we can learn.
Grenade, by the way, the beverage company filed a countersuit. Want to know what the countersuit was? They claimed that Grumpy Cat, I guess either the cat or I'm guessing the company that represents the cat meme, by the way, it's a meme.
Right.
Grumpy Cat did not hold up its end of the bargain and failed to promote the brand as outlined under the terms of the deal. So Grumpy Cat agreed that it would promote the coffee on its website or in its memes. And so they countersued. But the jury was not moved by that argument.
Well,
the meme.
if they drink a little more of the Grumppuccino, they might have been moved.
Yeah, well, maybe. So the lawyer said, the winning lawyer reports precedent when you have online. It's the first verdict ever rendered in favor of a viral meme. Memes. Well, hold on. You're missing the tag. Memes have rights too. When asked for comment, Grumpy Cat had nothing to say. But that's actually my own editorial there, but I'm assuming he had nothing to say.
Well, Grumpy Cat probably had nothing to say, but Grumpy Cat has people.
Grumpy Cat does have people.
Grumpy Cat apparently has a lot of people and lawyers.
Yes.
So good on you, Grumpy Cat.
Yeah, the name of the company, Grumpy Cat Limited.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the real name of Grumpy Cat?
Oh, I did at one point.
It's tartar sauce.
Tartar sauce, yeah.
With the D.
Oh, tartar sauce.
Tartar. Cat. Oh well. So how now that your head's kind of decreased? How's it going with you?
I have a more proper sized head now.
You're getting too swelled there. You know, it's weird.
I have a big head.
The coriander orange peely stuff, it almost has, and I know it's wrong to say. I'm sure I'm wrong about it, but it's almost got like a bubblegummy taste to it to start with.
I think that's
the banana too.
I think that's your yeast. Yeah, your yeast, your Belgian yeast. I think what this collaboration is, my guess is they took what would have been a Belgian white and they brewed it with the Belgian double yeast. So you're getting the notes from a Belgian double without the body. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So you're getting the bubble gum and the banana, and possibly often you can taste like pineapple or mango in there too, depending on the specific yeast strain. But
right,
a lot of that stuff goes with Belgian yeast flavors.
Got it. Okay, I will say this about this, by the way. I'm enjoying this beer a lot. I think it's great. For me, personally, you're going to want to make sure you drink this cold. Because as it's warming up, not as good. It doesn't go as well. Keith doesn't care. He likes those cellar temperatures.
I do, although this is possibly because it was in my fridge in my garage. Where, have I mentioned it's 18 degrees out?
It's not 18 degrees in your garage.
It probably is. Well, in the fridge in the garage, it probably is.
That's true.
So, Yeah, this came up borderline frozen, and it's still very cold, but still very tasty.
That's good. You got any picks this week? It's just two of us. You could actually do more than one.
Well, it's good because my pick's going to go long.
Okay.
So, as I think I hinted at previous shows, I've been, for a while now, I've been, let's say, Android curious after being a long time iPhone person. I was never impressed with early Android. I jumped on the iPhone bandwagon as soon as it came to my carrier, which for the record was Verizon and the iPhone 4. And I had never looked back. My wife and I have always had iPhones. And honestly, with the way things are going now, when I think it's the right way to go, here in America, we're finally getting to the point where we're buying our phones separate from our plans. A lot of times you go in and you get it financed and it comes on the same bill, but you're still buying two separate things now. The iPhone just got to be too expensive for me, at least the latest versions of it. And I didn't really want to get into one that was already 2 generations behind. My last iPhone being the 5S with a difficult battery issues. So it didn't even qualify for the battery upgrade program that they're putting out for the 6 and up. So I did my research, and my research said the best inexpensive Android was actually a Motorola model made by Lenovo now, which is the G5. And it comes in 2 flavors, and they are both available on Amazon. And even the nicer of the 2 flavors, the bigger spec'd one, is under $300. And on Black Friday, it went under $200. So I bought it for myself as a Christmas gift. Well, actually, I had my mother buy it for me as my Christmas gift from her. And I have not looked back. I have been, ever since Christmas Day, I literally took my SIM out of my iPhone. I didn't change my plan at all, plugged it into my new Android device, and I have not looked back. And I have been Android ever since. And I have to say, Android is fantastic. In the years that iPhone and Android have been going head to head, Android went from an underdog to an equal, or if not, in many ways, superior operating system to iPhone. And I am enjoying it very much. I'm going to try not to wax on poetically too much about it now. I'll probably let it play out over my picks over the next few shows as I'm starting to do picks based on my Android device. But it is fantastic. Google, this is straight up Google. There's nothing Motorola added to it. There's a little bit Amazon added to it because I actually bought it as an Amazon Prime phone, which means it came preloaded with all of Amazon software as well. But for the most part, it's a straight up Google device, which means you get on the home screen, you swipe left, you're into your Google Assistant, which is brilliant, by the way. I find that the text-to-speech is head and shoulders above what Siri is doing. For example, you press the microphone on your iPhone and talk to it to try to send a text message because you're driving or something. And at the next stoplight, you've got to go back and correct that text message before you send it. On this, it's like a 99% accuracy right out of the box. That Google Voice product that they've been using for so long to get this text to or voice to speech product is just working at this level. And I don't know how long it's been that way, but at least the number of years they've had it now, it seems to be pretty close to perfect. It's just a great device. The battery life is good. The speed is good. The fluidity on it as you're moving around is excellent. Now, granted, I'm going from an old 5S to what is essentially a modern flagship phone for Lenovo. This is their top of the line unit.
So I mean, I had an Android for quite a few years before I switched to iPhone. And what I had always found with my Android, a couple of things. One was that you doing to me?
I'm just showing the users. Keep
Um,
talking.
one of the issues was the number of things that were running in the background that would slow the phone down, would cause it to overheat, would cause the battery to die quickly. Have they fixed that?
I have had no issues with that. Now, granted, the latest incarnation of the operating system, you know, all your apps show up as cards here when you press the one of the built-in software buttons, and as soon as you do that, within it's like a heartbeat. So if you just want to switch, you bring that up and you can just grab the next app you want. But if you wait just a second, little X's appear on those, and you can just turn them off. You don't have to get a special app to manage that anymore. It's built in. It works great. Now, granted, I have the other thing that has happened for Android is the advent of multi-core processors. That, yes, iPhone has a multi-core processor, but this has an 8-core processor in it. One of the things, you know, I souped up. I got the higher end version. This has got 4 gigs of RAM in it and an 8-core processor in it. So it really can handle everything I've thrown at it. It has never overheated. It has never, like, I've never watched the battery life suffer. But also, if I go in here and I start switching apps around and I see something I'm not using anymore, I can just hit the X and it goes away.
Okay.
So they have gone a lot of way since that. Because I can remember when I had my Android that you'd have to download a special app just to manage that stuff and get in there and close those processes.
Yep.
Yeah, not an issue anymore.
Which also they weren't always reliable either.
Yep.
So the other big complaint I remember about Androids, and this was, man, it's got to be 6 or 7 years ago now, was the lack of apps. Oh, that has changed. Usually it was the iPhone app always came out first because that was the popular device, and then, you know, Androids would come on. Well, now we know from demographics that, as with Facebook, kids are moving away from Facebook, and as their parents and grandparents start using it, and the same has apparently been true now for iPhones. The iPhones have now become the older generations are using, and kids are going to Androids. So they say that that apps are much more robust than they were with Androids. Have you found that to be true?
I have found some of what you think to still be true. If you're looking for cutting edge, the latest games, the latest stuff like that, a lot of times they're still hitting iPhone first. One of the things I missed on Christmas, I had started to get into since around Thanksgiving, with the app HQ. I don't know if you know that one, the HQ trivia game. It's a live trivia game that comes on like twice a day.
Okay.
And it was beta testing or initial testing was done on iPhone. There was not, as of Christmas Day, like 2 months later or a month later, there was not a Android app for it. It was only on iPhone still. Now, by January 3rd, it was in beta on Android, and by January 10th, it's out in full production now, and you can just go download it. So it comes along a lot sooner than it used to, but it is still there. I think developers tend to develop for iPhone first because I think the code's a little cleaner. I'm not a developer. Jeremy might be the one to answer this, but I know he prefers to develop for iPhone, partially because he's an iPhone user, but partially because he finds it easier to develop on iPhone. And then there are ways to convert that over to Android, or to tackle the bigger problem of doing it on Android. So I think some of that's still the case. However, a total lack of apps, it's just not there anymore. I mean, everything I was doing on my iPhone, I made a check before, because I had enough time to plan this out. So I checked everything that I'm using on a day-to-day on my iPhone to make sure it was still there, and on Android, and it is. My Instagram apps are there. All my photo editing apps are there. Everything that's important to me. I did have to switch away from one podcast app into a different podcast app, but I did that actually on iPhone first to try it out, and I found I liked it better there too. So I just carried it over on that. and most of the stuff is free. So I bought myself a $20 Google Play card.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, I think that might have come from Santa. Santa bought me a $20 Google Play card.
Santa doesn't buy anything. He made.
He made it. The elves made
a $20 Google card.
They took the bitcoins and they pounded it into the shape of a credit card.
Which, by the way, I will say, if Santa's elves are making $20 Google Play gift cards, Google may have a claim against Santa. So,
yeah, good luck enforcing that. If we've learned nothing from Miracle on 34th Street,
it's hard to serve those papers.
It really is. But I've used that to try to anything I had to rebuy, and I spent $4.99 on Christmas Day rebuying one app. Other than that, everything came over straight up. And I've used it since then just to buy out some games, like some games that were free, but you could pay to buy the ads out. I've bought out the games, and I still have like $16 on that card sitting on my account. So it's really no issues for me switching from iPhone to Android as far as cost.
So now the last issue that I remember with my Android, security. So they were, at least back then, were prone to hacks and bugs and all that kind of stuff. Have they? I haven't looked into Androids in a long time, so have they improved that?
I would say it's as secure as iOS. I think they've done this
improvement. Yeah, great.
It's hard to say. There's no rampant security flaws going around right now. Being this is what I know from working in the business I work in, where we maintain iPhones and Androids, and so right now there's not a thing. You can buy security apps for both sets of phones now. Like if you go and search for McAfee on iTunes or the Google Play Store, you'll find it in both of them. Whether or not they actually do anything is another story. I think the Google OS, the Android OS, has come such a long way and adopted a lot of the things that the iPhone had right from the beginning, like the sandboxing of the individual apps. They run in their own space. There's no way to cross out from one to the other, or certainly not as easy as it was initially with Android. So I think they've got a lot of that covered. It's hard to say until I get hacked, though.
What about the jailbreaking? Are people still doing jailbreaks on their Androids?
No, you never hear of jailbreaking on Android because you can just do whatever you need to do. It would be called, I think it's called rooting on the Android, where you would root it and maybe install something else. But you would do that for usually cosmetic reasons, or you didn't like if you bought a Samsung and you didn't want all the added Samsung software on there anymore, you might root it and install something that's a little more clean and to your desire, which you can still do. But you can also still jailbreak your iPhone too if you really want to get.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, if you really want to get into it. That's not as popular anymore because most of the stuff is just there that you need on both sides.
Well, it's very interesting. Well, keep us informed on how you're liking your Android.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and I asked our chat room, actually, our Slack chat room, which if you're listening to this and you're wondering how do you get in, you just drop us a note here in the comments of however you're listening to us, or check us out on Twitter. Our Rob will give our Twitter names at the end, and send us a message and we'll send you an invite. It's a private Slack channel, but we enjoy our listeners' feedback and would like you to join us if you're a listener. But I asked them, I asked our Slack room, I said, and where there's a couple Android users, one of our more active fans is an Android user, and he said, the biggest thing he gave me for advice is embrace the Google-ness of it. He says, don't fight it. Don't try to use other things. If you're already a Gmail user, Gmail's going to work great on it. Let the assistant do its thing, and you'll be amazed at what it does. And I just went to Florida, which just for work, and the Google Assistant, without me telling it, read through my emails. It knew that I had a flight coming up. It marked it on my calendar for me. It told me when it was coming. It told me when I should leave and why I should leave that early because the traffic was light or heavy.
Wow.
If there was congestion on the way. It gave me a one-button push to just start the map to go to the airport and give me the best route to the airport. All that stuff is all so nicely integrated, from Google Maps to Gmail to the Google search engine and everything, and it just works. If you let it work, it just works great. It's a little, if you think about it too hard, it's a little big brothery, but boy, is it convenient on your phone.
Okay, cool. All right, so my pick for the week, mine will be a lot quicker than Keith's because it's a book.
Sorry.
No. That's good information. Actual book, like an actual book with pages.
Wait,
and
what?
A book.
I don't understand.
I love puzzles. I mean, whether they be crossword puzzles or Sudoku or logic puzzles or escape rooms or all kinds of different puzzle games. I really enjoy them. I used to be a subscriber to Games Magazine. You'd get them every month, and just all different kinds of puzzles to solve. Some really, really simple, some uber difficult. Some you'd had to even maybe go online and try to get hints for how to solve. So when a podcast that I listen to, and I've mentioned on the show before, the Secret Cabal cast, which is a board game podcast, mentioned this, I had to give it a try. It's an interactive, it's called itself an interactive book game, and it goes by the name of Journal 29. In Journal 29, the backstory of it is that there was this top secret excavation that was going. It didn't say where it was or what they were looking for, but it said that it didn't have any results for 28 weeks. And then on the 29th week, the team disappeared and left behind a journal called Journal 29. And basically what it is, you need the book, obviously, and a pencil and an internet connection. Use your smartphone or your laptop. If you use your smartphone and just pick up a QR reader app, which, if you're not familiar with, reads, those squiggly things that you'll see sometimes on the sides of products and stuff. And what you'll get is you'll get puzzles. On the right, every right-hand side of a page is a new puzzle. And you have to figure out the answer to the puzzle, which will sometimes be a word, a sentence, numbers, a location, some kind of clue. And then what you'll do is you'll scan the QR code, which will take you to a website, the Journal 29 website, and you enter in your answer, your guess. And if it's correct, you will get a word, some kind of key word that you will write down on that page. Later on, you'll get more difficult puzzles that will ask you, and you probably can't see it very well, but will ask you for the certain keys from certain pages to figure out a larger puzzle. So you can't just go through the book and do the puzzles that you want to do, because it will be dependent on keys that you had to solve from before. And every time you do some of those puzzles, it gives you a little bit of a hint as to what they were doing, where they were located, why were they there, what they were searching for, what happened to them. So it's really cool. It's got a nice little forum community with hints on it, because some of the puzzles, I will tell you, are devastatingly hard. And they do a nice little forum there with non-spoilers. They're very much into the book, so they'll give little hints to folks along the way. I have had to use it several times, but I've also gone on and offered hints to people, which was kind of cool too. I'm going to say I'm probably about through the book. I'm stuck on a really hard puzzle that I just cannot figure out what the answer is. But I don't want to look it up. Sometimes if you do a puzzle and you can't figure it out, you put it down and come back to it, and suddenly your brain's using different wiring and it comes to you. So I'm really enjoying it. It's about $15 on Amazon. And it's a great little time waster, escapist thing that you can do anywhere. I think you should give it a try. It's called Journal 29.
That sounds very cool. I've experimented with a few of those books before, but that sounds like it's really well done, especially if you're a puzzle person.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, some of the puzzles will be like mazes, or even there's a connect the dots puzzle, which are really, really simple. But then they'll have Sudoku puzzles and number puzzles and word puzzles and symbols and anagrams and all different kinds. So
Yeah, I think Cindy would probably really like that.
It's really cool, and it's like I said, it's only $15. So a nice little stocking stuffer or a birthday gift or something. So
we'll have to
Journal
keep
29.
that in mind.
Yeah,
that seems cool.
All right. Any closing thoughts on your beer?
My beer is excellent, but having a pint and a half of an 8.2% beer will make any beer excellent.
So you're feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling all right. There's just a little bit in the bottom of the bottle now, which there should be in a Belgian, because that's where all the yeast residue is. And there's a little bit left in my glass, but I'll probably finish that.
If you save that residue and go plant it in the backyard, you'll grow some new residue, I guess.
The Belgian style of beer making would call for you to keep the yeast at the bottom of the vat and use that as your starter yeast in the next batch.
Oh,
so you're not.
See, I knew more. I knew more about Abbey Brewing than I thought.
That's right.
All right, so we're going to close out the Pint of No Return show. As Keith mentioned, I'll give you some quick contacts for us. Our website is show.com. So we have our podcast up there. You can email us at PNRShow@gmail.com. Our podcast can also be found on iTunes. Please give us some reviews. That would be great.
Yeah,
please.
Kind of, sort of on iTunes. Yeah.
We should be on iTunes. You can find old episodes on iTunes. How's that?
Yes, you can. Everything up to this year
get caught up.
Not on iTunes yet, but it will be hopefully this weekend.
Any app that you have that's a podcast aggregator will have us there. We're also on YouTube.
Yes, YouTube,
podcast
up to date and current.
Subscribe to us there and give us some reviews. Yep. For the Twitters, Gary, who was not with us this evening, he is at Always Breaking. Keith is at Wolfman K. And I am at RebRob, REBROB. We have a Slack room that Keith mentioned. Just ask us through any of those devices, if emails or Twitters, or even in the comments, and ask us to add you to the Slack room. And we talk about all kinds of things, tech, beer, movies, all kinds of stuff that catch our fancy.
A lot of games. We talk a lot of games on mobile devices.
We do. Or at least they do. I pipe in every, twice a month. Yeah, we hooked you. Really important.
We hooked you in the last game, though. You're an addict now. I can tell.
They had this little. There's this little space sim. I can't remember what it's called. Where you basically, it's like almost like a choose your own adventure on a web browser, where you're trying to land a ship, kind of a seed carrier to start a new race.
You're saving humanity, Rob.
Yeah. And basically, they've been playing it for a while. I went in and played 3 times and got far better scores than they've ever been able to do.
It's true. I just played before the show tonight, and in fact, that was why I was a little late. I was playing that, and I got a horrible ending. Just a horrible ending. Rob plays 3 times total, and he gets utopias every time his races.
Yeah, it's kind of. It also. There's much more scientific parameters to it, but it's very much like the game that we've been playing. Well, now what's it called? Rain. Remember we talked about Rain on the show a long time ago. REIGN, which is kind of a choose your own adventure, but you're the head of a kingdom. So it's kind of got that because it keeps stats for like your religion and your money and your soldiers and your people, and so it does that, but with like gravity and your. So you might kill a couple of them off, your culture, your scientific archives. So you kind of can lose some points depending on what decisions you make. But apparently I'm really good at it. So
well, I tell you,
NASA, if the asteroid is going to come and hit us Super Bowl Sunday, like they say it's going to pass by, but if it is actually going to come and hit us, you want to choose me as your captain for your ship, because
Rob would make a great AI. All you have to do is kill him and harvest his brain, install it in the seed chips, and you'll be fine.
Wait, what? You have to kill me?
Yeah, that's how that works.
Well, I guess I'll just die in the
the fiery lava field.
Yeah. One of my favorite running posts on Facebook is someone saying, "Look, if we can keep Tom Brady from winning another Super Bowl, I'll take the asteroid. By the way, how is the anti-patriot sentiment in Rochester? We're from Rochester, and that is very much Bill's country. So
it is strong. We were rooting for the Jags because the Jags took us out, so they were our best hope, and they didn't make it.
Now you're an Eagles fan.
So now we're an Eagles fan. That's right. All of Western New York is pulling for the Eagles now.
Eagle Nation,
because Tom Brady just pulls, first downs out of his ass when he needs them.
Yeah, and apparently his wife is asking him to retire to go out on top. So please, Tom, listen to Giselle. Giselle. Because I will tell you that the Patriots will go off a cliff when Tom Brady retires.
Yeah.
God willing. Oh. Or just bring the asteroid. All right, we're going to close it out. This has been Season 5, Episode 2, Pine and No Return Show. Join us again next week. We've got some beers coming from California, I believe.
I think so.
That Gary is going to be sending us that we will enjoy. So look for us to be doing the same beer together next week. And the music's about to start playing because I'm doing the little thing, the little symbol. There it is.
Is that what that was?
I'll take a strong stout over strife. I prefer to confer.
So we do this show on Wednesdays?
Then live a long life till my private
It's a Wednesday show now.
For life without liquor, it's to no avail. So bring me lager for life.
I don't know how I feel about Wednesdays.
Sorry, semi-serious final tag. Safe home, Fuzzy.